Hello, welcome back to the channel. This will be a deeper dive review, especially during the retrograde season we're currently in, for Pluto and Aquarius for the next 20 years, as well as some talk about the next new moon coming up at the end of January. And this is, the first time Pluto is going direct for ever, since it won't be retrograding out of Aquarius anymore, so it's fully direct. At the same time that we have Mars opposite Pluto, at the same time we have that new moon kicking in for the first time. So I think this Aquarius season, which begins in later January and February, will be especially potent this time around with Pluto in Aquarius. But let's rewind a little bit to the darker side of Pluto and Aquarius. This is what I was drawn to most definitely. The transatlantic slave trade specifically seemed very extremely concerning, just regarding Aquarius's natural rulership of the humanitarian collective people in general that surpasses borders, right? So this is a time when Spanish businessmen would steal black Africans out of Africa, and approximately 12 million were taken and put them on cramped boats. So a lot of them, thousands, would not even survive the voyage to America, whatever other stolen land they were taking them to. So stolen people going to stolen land by the rich and the wealthy, plutocracy, right? So Pluto and Aquarius, we can kind of see some themes. Um, and this was all in the desire of wealth. And we know that Capricorn, which precedes Aquarius, is all about the banking systems of the world, math, calculation, and Aquarius only is really an evolution beyond this. Of course, I do think it is a way forward still, but we don't want to be naive. So this was a time when wide-scale kidnapping and trafficking was definitely seen. Governments even supported this kidnapping, right, by funding Christopher Columbus and that expansion because they were taking a cut. And this kind of shows how we have lobbyists today doing similar things. This was a time when many millions of people were forced to work and died for their businessmen or their operations masters or whatever. So if we thought Pluto and Aquarius revealed the kind of dark side of banking, I think we'll see even more larger scale kind of interconnected corrupt powers that show systems of corruption during Pluto and Aquarius. Some more events that happened while Pluto was in Aquarius in those areas was oppressive conversion of language and religion begins in some regions, which is interesting because Aquarius is an air sign, right? So it rules, actually the most evolved air sign if you consider the astrology is cyclic, right? Um, so we can see how there was just kind of this thought control or mind control, or how powerful words were, especially at this time. I mean, if we get the first beginnings of language in Gemini, and then we get the justice system in Libra, then we have Aquarius, right? The network of ideas and inventions and innovations. Pluto in Aquarius here then leads to the erasure of culture and oppression of people in the name of thought control. Pluto is the god of the underworld, or the plutarchy, a plutocracy from the ancient Greek, means wealth and power, or plutarchy is a society that is ruled or controlled by people of great wealth or income. And this correlates to Scorpio's kind of correlations with shared finances, right? It proceeds Libra, which is all about the marriage contract, and then we get Scorpio energy, which kicks in, which is all about the wealth that can be inherited through other means. Sometimes when you have a transit in your eighth house, you will get a contract that leads you to more income or something like that as well. This can also denote inheritances, right? So moving on from that and all the Scorpio kind of significations, we have mass violence that was shown here definitely. The only positive way to channel this energy is through more fighting and gaining independence. So it's like you either, repress yourself and you get slaughtered by the church who's burning heretics, or, I mean, on the negative, all those Protestants that went to America in search of their freedom while oppressing other people. So it's just interesting how all of these themes are correlating together. So while the Europeans who moved to the Americas enjoyed their newfound freedoms, establishing their version of democracy and building the foundations of American capitalism, they were actively stripping the freedoms, rights, and humanities of other groups of people. So it's just funny how it just repeats. I mean, we're on top, we're on bottom, we're on bottom, we're on top, right? Another interesting note is this transit will haunt and eventually conjunct the United States natal moon. In Aquarius, you can see how moon usually governs the people or the audience, and this is the United States' charts, which is how they relate to the people, right? This is a very motherly, the foundation of a nation, basically, right? And to have this in Aquarius means, yes, the United States was founded on ideas like science and revolution and humanitarian ideals of democracy and freedom, but on other ends was also on the institutionalized slavery, right? So we all know that Capricorn rules farmers, actually. That's why Capricorn rules saving your finances and being very cognizant of time and being very realistic of the bounds of time and everything that the material world needs, and control. Do you have control over your own life, or do other people have control over you? And a sense of discipline and stoicism comes along as well with Capricorn. And Aquarius is only the next level beyond that, right? So there's a lot of like fatherly patriarchal themes coming up here. But we, of course, know that Aquarius was the father of Libra, so there is something about beauty and maybe more art that could come about as well. It's like a Capricorn is the European father of the monarchy, and Aquarius is the new businessman who, through independent science, was able to rebel against his father and expand the business even further. Aquarius can be very divine energy, of course, all about humanitarianism, religious freedom, something the Protestants brought over from Europe where they were being slaughtered for rebelling against their enslaver, the Catholic Church. And so we see kind of themes of taxation coming up during Aquarius type stuff, the connection of finances, liquid cash, right? Liquid money. We even saw that with Bitcoin and all those kind of things coming up. We even see this further theme of this kind of businessman assuming power as the dark side, as Pluto entered Aquarius and the president-elect is now Trump, right? Not Kamala Harris. So it was like the common man was not supported as the leader, right? It's kind of moving away from democracy in fact. In fact, the common person was no less a woman, was exiled practically from power. We already see how Aquarius can present ideals that remove human dignity for profit. Another example is The Handmaid's Tale, where, though I have not seen it, I believe showcases the farmer slash profiteer slash businessman's interest in controlling women as they would a machine. This future-defining transit needs to be examined with some cold, hard Aquarian realness. On one hand, we see the potential for progress and liberation. On the other hand, the threat of control or dehumanization. Pluto and Aquarius and all other named and unnamed forces of reality don't share our ideals, values, or dreams. They are indifferent, impersonal, and relentless. As I film this, a lot of astrologers actually this week are telling us to look back to when Mars was last in Cancer, because it's retrograding back now, actually on Monday, back to Cancer. So as I actually post this, we're in Mars going back into Cancer is kind of at the same time when Pluto entered Aquarius for the long haul, November, right? And this is an out of bounds Mars, of course, so it's extremely powerful right now, making the effect more powerful. This is the last time we will experience Mars in Cancer in this retrograde until it goes direct later in spring. And at that time, Jupiter will pick up the mantle and attempt to bring joy to the areas that Cancer was being inflicted by, right? But the reason this is being brought up right now is because we are having intense Mars-Pluto oppositions for months on end. So it's kind of showing us that this beginning to Pluto and Aquarius for the next 20 years is kind of already bringing up very tough and Martian kind of war-like energy already. We are just now being exposed to these themes very powerfully. Happy to oh, sorry, give me a moment. Yeah, the machinations of reality are set for transformation, but the question is, what kind of world will humans use this energy to create? That depends on our collective actions, decisions, and resistance. Aquarius is very dynamic. It rules electricity, right? So it's going to create change one way or the other. It could, on the positive side, give tools to empower individuals, social innovations that prioritize equity and collective well-being. But when we detach from this positive outlook, we can see a possible surveillance dystopia, automation, destabilizing the lives of millions, deepening polarization, the loss of privacy and personal freedoms in a world where empathy and humanity is dismissed and crushed by the cold, logical, efficient scientific systems. Corruption, authoritarianism, and equality are supercharged. The mess left is ours to clean up. Humanity has to confront the failures of our rotten systems. So systems is obviously ruled by Aquarius, right? Remember the Enlightenment, the Industrial Revolution, and the height of the transatlantic slave trade, the American Revolution, and the French Revolution. Pluto remembers. Groups and societies and amongst acquaintances brought together for a common purpose is what Aquarius rules. And Pluto rules elimination, renewal, and regeneration. If history repeats, then in the tradition of Boudica, Empress Zoe and Queen Elizabeth I, all who found power during a Pluto and Aquarius period, America could gain its possible first feminine um, leader, right? So it's interesting how we see that connection between Aquarius and Venus, and Aquarius as the kind of father to a female leader, to Venus, somebody that's probably Libra or Taurus, probably Libra though, somebody that's worked in the justice system, right? Libra rules contracts, negotiations, and bringing the law of the authority down on somebody, right? So it's interesting how Aquarius and Libra have this beautiful trine energy together. So it's going to be interesting to see how empowered feminines can be and for the next 20 years. The Aquarian type is self-willed with strong independent spirit. Typically, the type will not be interfered with or told what to think or what to do. Interesting. First, going back a long way, the Romans invaded Britain in 43 BCE when Pluto was in Capricorn and then founded the city of London. When Pluto entered Aquarius in 60 CE, there was a revolt against the occupation led by Boudica and the Iceni tribe. Interestingly, Neptune was also in Aries at the same time, and Saturn was opposing Uranus. So that's interesting because we have Uranus right now in Taurus. Well, anyways, they're very close to squaring, actually, right? Interestingly, in 1041 to 1063, Pluto was in Aquarius along with Neptune in Aries. Innovations at the time include the use of the astrolabe, which was spread into Europe from Islamic countries and India. Astrolabe, or any type of early scientific instrument used for the reckoning time and for observational purposes. One widely employed variety, the planispheric astrolabe, enabled astronomers to calculate the position of the sun and prominent stars with respect to the horizon and the meridian. In France, John Calvin started his Protestant Reformation in 1532, and in Rome, Pope Paul III established another Inquisition in 1542 to deal with the rising tide of Protestantism. But the church would soon be on the run because Copernicus published his heliocentric theory of the solar system of the revolution of celestial bodies in 1543. The first African slaves were brought to the New World in 1525 during Pluto in Capricorn. This marked the start of the transatlantic slave trade, which took off during Pluto in Aquarius. Meanwhile, the Spanish were invading the Incan Empire in South America in the early 1530s, plundering their gold and destroying their culture. The most recent Pluto transit of Aquarius was in 1777 to 1797, while Uranus was in Gemini. And we have Uranus soon to be in Gemini. This is when the Enlightenment reached its peak and the ideas of individualism and rationalism spread. In Russia, Catherine the Great came into the throne in 1762 during Pluto in Capricorn and reigned until 1796, so the last year of Pluto in Aquarius. As Pluto entered, and she was known as quite a good leader, I believe. As Pluto entered Aquarius, she made many reforms, encouraging the ideals of the Enlightenment, and was a great patron of the arts and sciences. Utilitarian ideals took off and also fed into the discussion around welfare and how to maximize happiness for the majority. When directed towards making social, economic, or political decisions, a utilitarian philosophy aims for the betterment of society as a whole. Mary Wollstonecraft published A Vindication of the Rights of Women in 1792. She was the mother of Mary Shelley, born with Pluto in Aquarius, who went on to write Frankenstein. It's time for us to figure out what it means to be human and how to live together on this planet without fighting over everything. Aquarius is future-oriented and wants to make society and the future a better place. But before you can do that, you have to understand who you are and why you're here. At best, we could see an increase in more open-source technology, a decentralized internet that overcomes the problems of surveillance and the loss of privacy. It could also reveal the dark side of technology, wars fought via screens, drones, robots, biotech, or DNA. At worst, we could see greater control of the individual and society in a digital dystopia run by algorithms. But it won't last long. It'll shake itself apart and implode under the weight of its own madness and inherent contradictions. It also won't go unchallenged, and we should see a rising of the tide of people fighting to overthrow the old order and reject that kind of dehumanizing control. Plasma physics and new theories of consciousness could radically alter how we see reality, providing solutions we can't imagine now. There's a connection between the type of physics a culture uses and what it believes about reality. For example, if you see physics as being a closed system with finite energy, it determines how you create energy and manipulate matter. It leads to the extraction of resources to run a society based on debt that can never be repaid. So this is kind of how Capricorn rules the banking systems, right? And then Aquarius is the next evolution and used to be ruled by Saturn as well. You're in the arrears because the cost is projected into the future. It's a system of slavery. However, if you see consciousness as a primary and physics as an open system that gives rise to radically different worldviews in society, one free of debt and slavery, a breakthrough in some sort of free energy would achieve this. Humanity needs to become more self-empowered and stop living like children or slaves, told what to do and where to go and what to think by algorithms and the people that code them. It's interesting how Aquarius is always related to the geek archetype, which is associated with what Aquarius rules, networking, computers, and how Aquarius grips with the opposition of Leo, the social butterfly, by rebelling. So they're never usually like the popular kid, and that's more of the Leo energy. Actually enjoying the chaos Uranus brings, they even tend to want to be an outsider in the group to lead to new ideas. And Capricorn also has associations with the loner, right? Perhaps we'll see a revolution in politics with new parties that represent the people rather than the ruling classes. This would mean that instead of using power over to dominate and control, we would shift for power with, to empower individuals by working together in networks. There could be a possible decrease or loss of hegemony in the US, or at least the transformation of it. Even Rome, one of the most powerful empires, underwent transformations during different Pluto and Aquarius transits. It gained influence, transitioned from a republic to an empire, was divided, regained some territories, but not full control of them, lost territories again, and eventually weakened. By the next Pluto transit, it had already disappeared. So if we extrapolate it to the present, we see the US power may undergo similar transformation. Who knows, maybe even the dollar will be challenged. Pluto and Aquarius is not directly linked to money, but it kind of is. I keep seeing like links to money with taxation and things, and Bitcoin, which relies on networks, right? But since U.S. and actually in the 11th house, I believe, rules liquid money and astrology. But since U.S. power depends largely on the dollar, it's not far-fetched to think the dollar could be challenged as well, especially with the rise of alternative economic systems, digital currencies, and shifts in global trade dynamics. However, the U.S.'s transformation or loss could also happen in other ways, and only time will tell how it unfolds. Decline or transformation of major powers happened in all previous periods. Cultural, religious transformations and ideological shifts, technological and scientific advances, start of a scientific program to gather accurate data of where the planets have been in the past in order to be able to predict where they will be in the future. So systems, astrology is ruled by Aquarius as well because it's a system of math. It's time. So kind of like breaking the bounds of time, which is what Uranus can kind of rule as we see in Back to the Future, right? Which eventually leads to the subsequent scientific discoveries like gravity, relativity, and quantum mechanics. And of course, understanding that time is relative, right? So Democritus and his ideas of atomism, the idea that everything is made from tiny indivisible particles called atoms, 430 to 404 BCE, the invention of crossbows in China, which gave armies significant advantages. So of course, Aquarius is an air sign, right? And I made a video on my astrology transits playlist about how Prometheus and Chiron are related, and Chiron kind of rules Sagittarius energy, which also rules flight. But anyways. Philolaus proposed the central fight. Don't judge me right now for my speaking because Mercury is in its detriment as I film this still. Philolaus proposed the central fire model, suggesting celestial bodies revolve around a point other than Earth, questioning geocentrism, 430 to 404 BCE. Mathematical systems that many of us use today emerged from this period: Arabic numerals, the introduction of the number zero, algebra, and the word algorithm. So that kind of correlates with programmers, right? 795 to 819 CE, as well as a compilation of formulas for gunpowder bombs and how to build a magnetic compass, 1041 to 1063 CE. Andreas Facilius de Humani Corporis Fabrica, 1543, known as one of the founding texts of modern anatomy. Vesalius's work offered a detailed and accurate description of the human body, correcting numerous misconceptions held since ancient times. Through direct dissections, he illustrated the structure of organs, bones, muscles, establishing a more scientific approach to human anatomy, 1532 to 1553 CE. Paracelsian medicine. Paracelsus, I don't know if I'm saying that right, a Swiss physician and alchemist active around this period, advocated for a shift from traditional Galenic medicine to a more chemical-based approach. He introduced the idea of using minerals and chemicals in treatment, laying the groundwork for pharmacology. So it's interesting how when we had prominent Aquarius placements, COVID, and the kind of discussion of similar themes of chemistry, math, and medicine is really coming up at the forefront, and Chiron also rules medicine, so definitely check that out if you're curious. Increased availability of printed books and pamphlets facilitated the spread of information and ideas impacting everything from religious literature to scientific tracts and political pamphlets. 1532 to 1553 CE. Discovery of oxygen and elements of modern chemistry, 1777 to 1789. Antoine Lavoisier made groundbreaking contributions identifying, naming oxygen and hydrogen, and establishing the law of conservation of mass. Formation of chemical nomenclature, 1787. Lavoisier and other chemists create a systematic chemical nomenclature standardizing the naming of chemical compounds and elements, which remains influential today. The invention of the smallpox vaccine. Jenner's vaccination method becomes one of the earliest examples of immunization, 1777 to 1798. Herschel's discovery of Uranus, 1781. William Herschel discovered the planet Uranus. So that's interesting. That happened during Pluto and Aquarius. Pluto ruling the tiny kind of sniper-like equipment and scientific instruments that are required to discover something like that, something that we cannot see with the naked eye. And so optics becomes a very big focus at this time as well, and light in general. Expanding the known boundaries of the solar system, his use of the powerful telescopes marked a leap in observational astronomy. Coulomb's law of electrostatics. 1785, Charles Augustin de Coulomb formulated Coulomb's law, which describes the force between two electric charges. So I was discussing this in my other, based on the symbology of Aquarius, which it looks like two electric, it's basically related to the river gods, right? And that kind of churning of the oceans to create Amrit, or immortal life. And that's related to my Rahu and Ketu videos. So if you're curious, definitely check those out. A lot of Aquarius people tend to get along with fire sign placement people. Again, another note to the connection between Prometheus and Chiron. But this is all in my astrology transits playlist if you're curious. But anyways. Two electric charges, so atoms, right? Protons, electrons, etc. His work was foundational for understanding electrostatics and contributed to the future development of electromagnetism. So frequencies, auras, the kind of our auras and how important that is in chakras and prana and chi and all those kind of things. Exploration of electric and magnetic phenomena. Scientists like Luigi Galvani in 1791 discovered bioelectricity, so like electroreceptive things in creatures as well, like I discussed. I think I discussed it. Maybe I didn't make a video dedicated to it, but I am now, I guess. Observing that electrical stimulation could cause muscle contractions in animal tissues, this finding laid the groundwork for electrophysiology. Roman legal system, refinement of the Roman law and its impact on government. So that happened during Pluto and Aquarius as well, which kind of correlates to Libra. Translation into Latin, the Book of Optics by Ibn al-Haytham, which influenced European scholars, particularly in Italy. His work on reflection, refraction, and the nature of light was foundational, guiding developments in optics and understanding vision. 1286 to 1308 CE. The darker side could include the loss of personal freedoms and erosion of individuality in favor of collective conformity, controlled by tech giants or authoritarian governments. Thoughts and electricity firing in the interconnected neurons in our brain, programmed by our words and those of others, is what manifests and create reality. As we approach the next upcoming new moon in Aquarius at the end of January, we should think more about the Aquarius season in general and how the themes that play out are impacting our forward momentum. We recently had Venus square Uranus over Christmas, with Uranus and Taurus maybe showing us surprising new truths about love and money and our desire to innovate before the new year, with Venus in Aquarius, though now in Pisces. So the next new moon will be on January 29th. It's a new moon in Aquarius at 9 degrees, and Jupiter will also be stationing direct shortly after. Jupiter is ruled by Sagittarius, which relates to that 9-degree point of the new moon in Aquarius. This new moon will also trine Jupiter in Gemini. Jupiter will go direct February 4th after this new moon. Pluto and Mercury will also be in Aquarius conjoining the new moon. Chariklo and Ceres as well. Ceres as well, sorry. Pisces energy will also be relevant at this time, with spirituality and the subconscious as the focus, bringing our dreams into reality or imagining new realities. Social circles could be a big focus, as well as sudden intense truths, freedom. Uranus is going direct January 30th. It's a very emotional time as well, with all the water energy in Mars and Cancer, but innovative and forward moving. Also spiritually healing, sound healing, creativity, transforming emotions to heal. Intense, fast or surprising things could happen, and a lot of new energy is coming in, but important to calm your nervous system, especially with hot teas, reducing sugar, meditative states, my grounding exercise, which I describe in my tarot readings, which I learned from a psychic interview. And basically, the roots extend from the base of your feet, and you push out or exhale gray, black energy, and you call in white or golden light energy. Um, Innovative, forward moving, yep. Transforms emotions to heal, creativity, sound healing. Um, a lot of shedding and letting go, especially with Pluto, right? Letting go of anxiety, which is what Aquarius can rule as well, art therapy and healing art forms. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Sorry to rush it at the end like that. I hope you got something from it. I just wanted to post my thoughts, and maybe this helps somebody. But thank you for being here. You can hit like, subscribe. I really appreciate the views. You can leave a tip if you so choose through the Buy Me a Coffee, the coffee link. Can you tell that Mercury is in its detriment? Because I can. But anyways, thank you for being here, and take care.